cosmic energy projection aside, if you had one superpower, what would that superpower be?
Rewind time a little bit and like fix all the mistakes I've been making for the last 40 some years.
When you hear a phrase like close connections, what does that make you think of? Have there been close connections in your life that you feel like have really helped to shape who you are today?
What makes us human, I think, is our relationships with other people. I really, really am grateful. There have been a lot of people during my career in this industry who have helped me and given me advice or taken me under their wing. And I've been very lucky. It's happened to me over and over and over. And so to me, the value of that sort of experience passed down, wisdom passed down, I've certainly benefited from it. And I think, I feel like it's this weird thing. We're in this country where we don't really respect old people. We kind of treat them as, we make fun of them and stuff. But really, we should all be learning from their wisdom. They've lived this whole thing, They have so much to share, and instead we put them in homes. And so to me, that connection between generations is also very important.
Can you talk a little bit about the decision to come to the U.S. for university and then move into Iowa? It's a very different place than where you grew up. Like, what was that like going through that change?
I didn't really have a sense of what Iowa is going to be like because I knew America from movies and TV, and you guys hide that part of the country. You don't let us see it. We see LA and New York, and we're like, all right, let's go. And then you're like, wait, what happened to all the buildings? Pakistan's a former British colony, so we had schools there that are sort of, we call them English medium schools, where you learn all your education in English. And they put me in a school like that because the plan was always for me to come to the US for college. And then choosing Iowa was totally random. I just, I wanted to go to a liberal arts school because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I applied to, I think it was 8 or 9 liberal arts schools sort of in small towns, because I grew up in Karachi, which is very much a big city. It's over 20 million people. It's very much like, sort of the New York of Pakistan. Very, very densely populated city, and I wanted to go to a small town because that sounded appealing to me. And then 4 years later, I moved to Chicago. It was really interesting. The first couple of weeks in Iowa were probably among the toughest of my life. I just felt very, it was a completely new culture. I mean, I'd seen it in movies and stuff, and I knew how to speak English, but still, everything is so different, And then eventually, really, it was the community of that college that everyone was interested. There was only one other Pakistani guy in the school when I got there. So people were genuinely curious about where I was from and what I ate and what my language was and how you say certain swear words in my language, And so that really, really helped me get through it. And I immediately felt part of that group.
And then, as you were thinking about moving to the U.S., obviously you've gotten into comedy and things like this. Did you have any sense that this might be a path that you would go on? Were you funny were you always the funny kid when you were growing up? And
no. Me and my brother were both very quiet, very shy people. And so my family's still sort of surprised that I did this. It sort of didn't really make sense to them. And I completely understand. It's so outside of, who they see me as, who I really was when I was, back when I was living with them as a kid. So they just sort of thought it was like a cute hobby. And my mom just said, as long as you don't quit your day job, do whatever you want. And then I did quit my day job. And I think that was scary for them. They never told me not to do it. They really said, we trust you to make the right decisions, which meant a lot to me. But they weren't like, hey, you should really drop everything and try and become an actor in Hollywood. They didn't do that. And it wasn't until actually a few years into it where they really felt, now I think they feel safe. I think for a long time they just were worried for me, and I understand that. And even now, my mom's like, you've chosen a very difficult life. I'm like, it is difficult because, I finished a job yesterday. I don't know when the next thing is. It's sort of, now done, maybe that was the last job I'll ever have, there is a part of you that, I'm too tired today to think that, but I bet you tomorrow I'll be like, well, that was it. Now it's over. I got in, yeah. I'm going to go tell Google not to listen to anything I said. I loved comedies, movies and TV shows and stuff. I watched everything, but it wasn't really until my last year of college that I even had any actual desire to try stand-up comedy or do any kind of performing. I didn't do any acting or anything, and all the way through college, I didn't do anything.
How did you get exposed to it? Was there a friend or somebody like that was like, hey, why don't you try this out?
Honestly, I was so shy, and the idea of getting on stage was so terrifying. The only thing more terrifying was never doing it, And so the only reason I did it was because it really felt like I needed to do it. Like it just hurt to not do it. In college, we had this little coffee shop, and they used to have this comedy night once a semester, and I went and saw it, and I saw people I kind of knew doing stand-up, and I was like, oh, wow, they're doing what I see on TV. And so I gave myself 6 months. I said, if I come up with enough material, I'll go and do it. So I did it my first semester of senior year, and it was great. It's to this day one of the best sets I've ever had. Because, it's all like people who are your friends in the crowd or people who want to support you. They're excited to see one of their own going up. And I really loved it. And so I was like, I have to try and see if outside this bubble of people who know me, if it's something that could work. So I moved to Chicago because I had a job. And I knew, a lot of great comedy had come out of Chicago, like Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert. I mean, I had a day job. I worked, and then I did stand-up at night. And there was never really a moment until I moved to New York where I was like, all right, I'm going to try and make a living of this. I just was like, I like doing this. I'll keep doing it. And then at the end of my second visa, I was like, I have to make some sort of decision here. And that's when I moved to New York and was like, all right, I'm going to 6 years into doing comedy, I was like, I'm going to see if I can make a career of this.
Yeah. And were there some moments along the way where you almost were going to give up on the dream?
I was lucky in that I didn't really have my first bad set until I was a few months into it. If I had a bad one early on, I probably would have just quit and never done it again. But I didn't have a bad one until, I sort of knew I was figuring something out. And so that helped me sort of keep going. And I was lucky in that enough sort of progress was happening for me. Chicago's for stand-up, it's a very small town. And so, but regularly I was getting to do slightly better shows or opening for, bigger comedians who were coming into town. So I always felt like I was working towards something. I was a philosophy major and a computer science major. But I had my philosophy advisor who was, she was just really smart, and she just kept being like, you have to try comedy. You have to do comedy. You have to do comedy. It's hard to talk about because she recently passed away. And I went and spoke at her memorial back in Iowa, and that was lovely, just a month ago. She really bullied me into doing comedy. And I was like, if someone as smart as this thinks I could do this, then maybe I could. Because I never really had any kind of self-belief. I borrowed her belief in me and sort of carried that. And I kind of still carry it, So that meant a lot to me. It is also funny that, she's a philosophy professor and she'd look at the other students and be like, you're a great thinker. You should pursue philosophy. And then she looked at me, she was like, you should tell jokes. But I'm so grateful that she did, She really, really, she said, you're not going to be happy unless you're doing this. I came here, and you see all the background noise, like people who grow up here just accept certain things. And when you come from somewhere else, suddenly all those things that are weird, that you don't think are weird because you grow up with them, I notice them, and I can say those out loud. So as a comedian, that stuff really helped me, And I think it was also helpful for me, coming from a very specific culture to another culture, realizing, there are many different ways of looking at the world, and they're all valid. And it wasn't that like, I don't want to think of it this way, I want to think of it this way. It's just knowing that there are different ways of looking at life, of looking at the world, philosophy. There are different ways means that that spectrum is kind of infinite, and you can figure out your own point of view. I don't feel American because so much of your membership in a group is based on other members accepting you, and I realized that a lot of America is not going to see me as American ever. And I don't feel Pakistani because I don't live in Pakistan. I live here now, and this is my home. Pakistan is not my home anymore. This is my home. And so I kind of feel like I'm sort of in between identities, in between cultures. You kind of get to forge your own thing. I spent 18 years in Pakistan. That's such a big part of me, So I don't even need to, I don't feel like I need to keep it afloat because it's in my bones, it's in my DNA. So, I try and speak Urdu as often as I can. If I run into someone who I think may speak Urdu, I'll racially profile them. Root for Pakistan in cricket. Pakistan and India are playing on Saturday, on Sunday in New York, yeah. And I have tickets, but I can't go because I have to do work here, and it's really, really just, I guess I've let go of my heritage. I keep up with the news. I still have, 2 groups of friends from back in Pakistan that I talk with all the time. I talk to my larger family all the time. So yeah, I sort of do everything I've always been doing since I was there, which is just like keep up with my family, keep up with culture as much as I can, eat biryani as often as I can.
A neat experience it feels like that you would have as being, nominated for an Oscar with your wife.
Yeah.
A story about you.
Yeah.
Right? Just tell us a little bit about what that experience was like, when you got the call or found out about things in the process of even making the movie.
We wrote that script for 3 years, and it took us 3 years to sort of get it made. It felt very pure, because when it's a low budget movie. It's ultimately a small group of people. Everybody's there not because they're making a lot of money, but because they want to make this movie. They want to tell this story. And Judd Apatow, who was our producer, really sort of protected us from all the forces that could get in the way of telling the story you want to tell. I think the only gauge I have for telling a story is whether I feel like I need to tell it. And we were sitting at Sundance, had got into Sundance, and we're sitting in this theater with like 800 people, in this tiny, weird mountain town. And Emily and I were sitting next to each other at the premiere, and she turned to me and she was like, "This is the last time this is going to be our story." And I realized until that moment, I had never thought about the idea that anybody else would ever be watching this. I just was like, yeah, we want to make this. And when it's done, it's like, all right, now it's made. It's like, oh, now other people get to watch it. Oh, no. And so it had a great response in that, that was a very overwhelming thing. It was an overwhelming year. And we found out we were actually, we were crashing at someone's guest room. We woke up at 5 a.m. because that's when they announced, or something like that. It was very early. We opened the laptop, and me and Emily in bed, and they announced it was Andy Serkis announced that we got nominated, and we both screamed and yelled. And then we went back to sleep. And then when we woke up a couple of hours later, there were hundreds of texts, and we were like, all right, because that sleep was like, all right, now this is the last 2 hours we have before now we have to go do all the other stuff.
Any roles that you want to do? Like things that you feel like you haven't done, but okay, I would love to be able to do this type of a movie.
I want to do completely different things every time if I can, and that's challenging in this industry because they kind of just want to hire you to do the exact same thing they've seen you do, especially as a South Asian guy. It's very hard to sort of get out of that box. So for a long time, all I did was I played nerds. I played computer engineers, no offense. And then, I did one action movie, and then all I got was action movies for a long time. So suddenly I was like, no, it's not that now I'm there. I just want to do sort of everything. And that's still challenging, just like playing a role where I'm just like a normal guy is still hard. I get intimidated to do certain things. And it's happened to me before where I've read something and been like, oh, I don't know. And then later realized, oh, that was just fear. I was just intimidated to work with this person, or this one scene sort of scared me, so I didn't do it. And I think I've learned you just have to jump in and trust yourself and the people around you that you will figure it out. What I realized in quarantine where it was just me and Emily, and I was alone for a lot of it. I became very aware of how things make me feel. You know, sometimes you're like going around the world and you're just being inundated and you're feeling certain ways and you don't know what's causing it, or you ate something, you don't know what. But when I was just sort of when my existence got pared down so much, I really was like, oh, when I do this, I feel like this, you know, or if I exercise, I feel like this. If I don't exercise, I feel like this. If I read this thing, I feel like this. It became like very clear to me how things affect me, and the kind of life I want to live sort of became much clearer to me. And so I think you just have to have that intentionality and check in with yourself and say, is this what I want to be doing, or am I just doing it because this is what I'm doing? I think it's just the most important thing is the intentionality. Keep checking in with yourself and, you know, make sure you're doing what you want to be doing. And if you're not, see what you can do to sort of get there, and just be aware of how you're feeling, and tell the people who mean something to you that they mean something to you. You know, I never told my philosophy professor that she changed my life, and I do regret that. So if someone does something, you know, means something to you, just be sincere about it and say it to them.
Makes sense. Thank you so much.
Thank you
you're
for
selling
having
yourself
me.
short by saying that.
Thank you.
We really appreciate
Thank you. Thanks for having me.